Hi, I'm Jessica Wiseman, and this is my science activity for ACTE 635. Can you filter your water? Okay, so the first thing that I did in my experiment was to gather my materials. So I used the water filtering materials that we were sent, the charcoal, the alum, the sand, and gravel. I then used some clear plastic Dixie cups, rubber bands, coffee filters, cheesecloth, the measuring cups, and then of course the dirty water. The first thing I needed to do was do a little research. What does alum do? So I found out that it helps with water purification because it has properties in it that they will attract the fine particles in the water. The particles move down to the bottom, and the water does become a little bit more clear. Okay, I continued my research, and I wanted to look to some diagrams to see how to make the stackable water filtration system similar to Earth's natural filtration system. So I did pull up some diagrams where I could see that the water would go into the Earth's surface and then through the various topsoils and gravel and sand to kind of get a look at how I would like to structure this stackable system. Okay, after that, I then decided to start to construct the stackable water system. You can see there that I grabbed 3 plastic Dixie cups and I put some holes in the bottom of the cups. I placed the ground materials in each of them, so one had gravel, one had sand, and one had charcoal as represented in that picture. Next, I used the cheesecloth and the rubber band and placed it over the measuring cups to serve as my last layer in the filtration process. Okay. Next step is to collect the dirty water. So I collected some dirty rainwater. You can see there that it's very murky and there's lots of earth particles in there that had to filter out. Then I started to add the alum. In order to begin this purification process, I mixed the alum with the dirty water so that the particles join up and clump together in flocks. I mixed the alum for 2 minutes and then I let it sit. I allowed the alum to sit for about an hour. I then went on to work on this, so it ended up being a longer time than I thought originally, but I returned to check on the dirty water after about an hour and it was more clear. The particles were at the bottom of the measuring glass. And you can see in this diagram that this is the glass on the left was the dirty water before, and this was after it was added and sat for an hour. So it's definitely more clear and the particles are at the bottom. From that, I stacked the cups with the materials inside on top of each other. First the gravel, and then the sand, and then finally the charcoal, and I put it on top of the glass measuring cup with the cheesecloth acting as the mesh barrier. Then I conducted my experiment. So I poured the dirty water into the stackable water filtration system. It slowly moved through the different layers, passed through the cheesecloth into the measuring glass, and the goal was to have the water purified into clean water. The results, it worked. The stackable system worked. The water slowly trickled down from the cups with the materials in it, and then you can see here that this was just a small sample of the water, but the water is clear. Okay, so my conclusion was that the gravel, the sand, and charcoal helped to trap and strain the particle pieces, which in turn helped to clean the dirty water. The picture on the left was the top cup that trapped the most particles, and then the middle cup already shows the clear water moving through the sand, and finally the last cup shows that it went through the charcoal, which helped produce the clean water. And my conclusion was that the cups were modeled after Earth because they had the materials in a similar order to what they would travel through the ground, and it was successful because my way of measuring was if my water was clear. So some improvements I thought I could make to the project will be the following changes. First, I would use more water. So much of the water was trapped between the layers of sand and charcoal, and it did not produce as much clean water. So by using more water, I think my end result obviously would be greater. I think I would like to place all materials in a larger container, maybe a 2-liter bottle. I would layer the materials just the same, but have everything in the larger container, kind of mimicking more of Earth. And I would work to improve the odor of the water. So I had determined success by the clearness of the water, but it does still have an earthy smell. So this is one of my ways that I could change it for the future. but I enjoyed doing this project. I took me back to what an elementary school student, middle school student would feel as they are working through the steps of inquiry, and I definitely think they are things that I can incorporate into my class.